So, right now, the residents of Randall Street are in a pretty terrible state,
Yeah,
quite shaken up by what's happened.
yeah.
What advice can you offer them, as someone who survived the 1927 flood, about how you get through this?
One way you get through it is one day at a time. Stop worrying about the future. Take one day, do the best you can on it, and you know there's another day coming. And that's pretty much been my philosophy all my life. Worry about today and plan for the next 2 or 3 days, but you've got to roll with the punches if it doesn't work out. And we had, for one reason or another, we ended up with 4 children. And one was 7 years on last. That was 7 years later when she had that last one. Oh, you never saw anybody madder than my wife was that. But some things you can do something about and some you can't. And said, well, you know, we've got another one, and we've got enough to eat, and we've got a place to stay, and let's see how it goes. And he turned out to be a rebel in the way he does things. He became prosperous. He has his own business. He's traveled all over the Eastern Hemisphere. Well, we're very fortunate. We have the 4 children, and they're all a credit to us, which is the greatest thing I can have to do, is bring up 4 children. Now they all got together yesterday, the day before, said, wait, let's talk this thing over. The 4 children plus my nephew, who was the son of who was Ayers. And they said, well, let's make out our plan. Said, Dad, we've decided we can get the kitchen so we can have Thanksgiving in there. And all of our children wanted. Now that was my grandfather did nothing but change and make to the house. And one of the changes he made, which is a grand idea, he took out a petition and put in French doors. So we got enough chairs, decent chairs, so we can seat 30 people in our dining room. And all my life we've had 20 to 30 people. And especially once the children start growing up, we always have 30 or 31 or 2 for Thanksgiving, and it's just a grand time. And so fortunate, so fortunate. And Orlo, my grandfather, he didn't. He was not as smart a man as I ever around, but he would read like a first grader, 1 word at a time. But he could read a blueprint. He understood you could make he had no education. My father has engineering graduate from Norwich. I've engineer graduate from Norwich. But Orlo, he had what it took when somebody, and he was a tinsmith, he could find out how to fold the tin. Very clever.
So the plan is to be back in there by Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we're going to put. The plan is we're going to have the family Thanksgiving dinner there.
Do you think you'll
Oh,
pull it off?
No question. No question. I got four and a half talented boys, or 4.5 talented children, and no question we're going to be there. And I've done. Well, I do foolish things. I bought a turkey from a guy. Used to be. He was way back. He was Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of Vermont before Cunin. She got that Frenchman in, but don't put that in there. Don't put that in there. But he was originally from Virginia and wanted to farm, and so he had a farm over in I can't remember the place. Over on 17.
What?
And he went into the turkey business. He raised about 30,000 turkeys.
What makes you so confident that you'll be able to meet that goal of Thanksgiving dinner?
4 children. I don't have the slightest.
How many?
Don't have any the slightest doubt you can imagine. We're going to have. They'll have some wine and they'll have some beer and we'll have a grand time. And the children, that's the one time they all get together. We see them 2 at a time or 4 of them together, but to get the whole group, it only happens about once or twice a year.
How many grandchildren and great-grandchildren are there?
Grandchildren, 7 great-grands. 3, 5, 7, 9 grandchildren.
Do you think that is there something different or special about Vermonters that helps them get through things like this?
Yes. And the reason, their basic reason is, the fundamental reason is that we aren't that prosperous, so that we have to plan and save and make plans for the future. And that is now, so it's part of our growing up, part of my children's growing up was to plan how they were going to do in the future, where they were going to go to school. That was all decided by my children way early. And I take some of that credit. But I had cooperative children too.
But in terms of getting through disaster like this, a lot of people have remarked on how neighbors have come out to help one another.
That's Waterbury. Well, it's Vermont. You aren't up to the hoity-toity type of people. They're all down to earth, tradesmen. You got some bankers, damn them, and you got some politicians. But they're pretty level-headed. There's the first example. The kids got the children. Like I told you, my grandmother said they have children. The children got together a couple of days ago and said, how are we going to do this? And they came up with the idea, and we're going to have Thanksgiving, no question.
Okay.